Live from the legendary podcast bus in sunny California, it's America's funniest new podcast.
Oh my God, what are you doing?
Like that.
We think it's funny. And now, here are your hosts, Mark Schiff and Daniel LaBelle.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of We Think It's Funny. I'm Daniel LaBelle.
Mark Schiff, we do think it's funny, and if it's going to be very funny because we have, look who's here.
One of the best, Bobby Slayton.
Yeah, which, by the way, let me tell you something. I saw the list of all these great comedians you have, and what you did, same thing Schiff did on his last failed podcast, and the same thing that the Young Comedian Special did. They go through, you went through every comic, and when you start running out of people, I see this list. We had Reiser on, we had Margaret Cho, we had Jay Leno, and now we're out of people. Would you like to do it? So you have nobody left that's going to do this, and I don't even know why I'm doing it. I have nothing to plug.
No. There's a lot of people under you.
Yeah, a lot.
A tremendous amount of people.
But not professionals.
That's true. You're the last of the professionals.
Nobody of your age that is as
It's
unsuccessful.
still alive. Right, okay.
Yeah.
And if
you
you're
guys are very
ilk,
diplomatic how you said this. Which, by the way, when Martin Mull died, who was one of the great comedians, Rick Scheidner, another great comedian, posted something on Facebook, and I remember that line that Martin Mull once had, and I'm paraphrasing. He goes, when he started doing stand-up, there were 400 comics and 40 good ones. And now there's 40,000 comics and 40 good ones. Or something like that. Yeah. And it's true. There's so many comics out there. I can't even watch. I don't want to be one of these old farts. Oh, the kids today, the comics. I don't want to sound like Milton Berle, one of these other old idiots from the Catskill days. That the comics aren't funny today, because there's plenty of funny comics. The Brian Regan and Bill Burr. But I watched some of these. I used to tape, Fallon every night and all the talk shows, and I would watch the comedians. I can't even sit through them anymore. I'm glad you're Chinese. I'm glad you're transgender. I don't really give a rat's ass that you're a lesbian. That it's the same crap over and over again.
what you said is interesting, because you said that you don't want to be like one of these old comedians that, So I'm one of these guys that go, these kids, they always have to curse these people. They always have to talk filthy. So what is a guy like you who talks filthy and curses and is totally disgusting on stage? Who do you hate? I'm just asking. Because who I hate? I hate guys like you who are so freaking disgusting and filthy up there. So tell me.
Well, first of all, I don't think my act is that disgusting or filthy or dirty. But what's interesting is that I never judge the comic. But I don't like comics that are filthy, dirty, disgusting, and aren't funny.
You don't, dude? No.
You got to be funny. You got to be funny.
Okay,
That's
you
number
look
one.
at Bill Burr, who doesn't stop with the F word. You look at, it started with Lenny Bruce. Buddy Hackett was always telling dirty jokes. But they were funny guys, And then I'm sure they got a lot. Well, you don't really need the F word. I know Jay and Jerry are two guys, and you don't really need to do that. But if it's the way you talk in real life, it's the way I talk in real life is the way I talk on stage. I'm cleaning it up for your imaginary,
and we appreciate it.
Listeners and viewers.
This is and thank you.
Thanks, no problem.
We had to put a label on Bobby. We said we're on the clean channel there, and you're very kind to do. Jay, by the way, does a routine on Vagisil. That's as blue as he gets.
What I'm sorry, say that again about Vagisil?
Jay, I worked with him 2 weeks ago at Comedy Magic Club. He does a routine on Vagisil.
We just have, I think we had a black cleaning woman in Vagisil.
Yeah, what's that?
You can say that, can't you?
Yes, you can.
It's funny because the reason I'm doing this, I don't know why I'm doing it, because I told you I could be sitting in my pool instead. I come here to, this is like Hogan's Heroes used to broadcast out of the bunker under the tree stump. That's what this reminds me of. Except it's a broken down bus where they kidnap children and put them in buses like this. Right?
They do.
But why did it make you feel young again?
I feel great. Thank you. Thank you. Bada bing.
So you love the pool, right? You talk about the pool. You've been talking about the pool to me for years.
Because when I first had a house, I always wanted a pool. When I grew up in the suburbs, a couple of my neighbors had pools.
Where was that?
I was always an old Jew. I like sitting in the sun. And people go, you don't need to get any more tan. I don't sit in the sun to get tan. I sit in the sun because it relaxes me and I like swimming.
Where did you grow up?
In Westchester County, right outside the Bronx.
Okay.
And it wasn't a rich neighborhood, but it was a nice neighborhood. And the greatest thing ever, we were 20 minutes from Yankee Stadium by car. Or you could take the train right into Manhattan, 45 minutes. So when I was a teenager, a hot summer day, you take the train into Manhattan, you buy your pot, you buy your electric, your day glow posters and your incense, and then you get back and you get home and you go to your friend's pool.
Do you remember watching the game at all from the subway Yankee Stadium?
Yeah, I always went right to the... No, but I remember I used to go all the time, and it was... Because we're pretty much the same age. I'm 69. How old are you?
About the same, yeah.
Okay, so you remember Mickey Mantle, Elston Howard, Tom Tresh, and
Roger
go to Yankee
Maris,
Stadium, and yeah, of
Bobby
course.
Richardson.
I love Bobby Richardson.
Me too.
And
Tony Kubek.
We don't have to,
Joe
Boyer.
Pepitone.
Okay, we don't need to go through everything.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yogi.
loved them all. And Mickey, who I ran into a couple times, not the most pleasant man. But anyway, what I loved, I think the grandstands were $1 or $2. I never sat in the bleachers. I thought it was too good for the 75-cent bleachers, so I sat in the grandstand. But there was one time I cut school and I went to the opening game at Yankee Stadium. This is like a Leave It to Beaver episode. This is like a sitcom thing. So my friend and I cut school. It's opening day at Yankee Stadium. We get to the Bronx. We're standing in front of Yankee Stadium. There's a news guy from one of the major networks. Hey, aren't you kids supposed to be in school? We go, yeah, but we're cutting school. We thought we were so cool. And then I realized my mother watches the news every night, watches that channel. She's going to see me on the news, going to see. So I remember, this could be in my mind, but I remember trying to talk, you shouldn't be watching the ABC news. You should WNEW, Channel 5, much better news coverage. There
was a
I never
honeymooners.
did get caught. I don't even know if I was on, but I never got caught.
There was a honeymooners like that where Jackie Gleason called his boss and said that his mother-in-law died.
Oh.
And then they went to a wrestling match, and then they got and then they got caught. The picture was in the paper at the wrestling match.
Was that one of the original 50s?
Yeah. Whenever
I can't remember that because I love my favorite show.
Pause for 1 second. Both you guys move over a little bit this way for the camera. Like, Mark,
you.
shift this way a little bit.
Yeah. We don't have to start over again, do we?
No.
Okay.
We'll never get to be as funny as we just were.
No, it's not going to get better than that. But anyway, ask me about my pool. So I remember when my daughter was little, we had this little teeny house in Marina Del Rey, and I bought like in Sharper Image one of those blow-up pools, and I would sit in it, and then I put a little filter in it and chlorine. Anyway, the point is, now I have a pool, and I love the pool, but I can't heat it in the wintertime, so I utilize it all summer long.
Now, you wanted a pool when you were growing up, and you made it happen.
Yeah.
What did you not get that you wanted?
I want to be a better podcast.
Well,
But what did I get? There's a lot of things. But
have you done Rogan? Have you gone on Rogan's podcast?
No, I don't.
Neither have I.
No. I don't really do. First of all, I used to do so many radio shows. I lived on the road for years, so I was doing that horrible morning radio. There were some good shows, but sometimes you get to a town early so you can plug your show and do morning radio. And you're sitting in traffic with some assistant manager or waitress is telling you a life story of what she wants to do with her life, and I got to sit and then go on some hip hop station where nobody's coming to my show anyway. So there were years of doing this and years of doing podcasts. The first, your last, like I said, failed podcast that you had. What is it? What was it called?
You don't know Schiff.
You don't know Schiff, right? You can
Bring
say,
up my failures.
Yeah. Okay. Well, whatever. I did it because you asked me to do it, and I figured. But I have nothing to plug anymore. There's no reason for me to go on. The only thing I'm doing is in a couple of weeks I'm playing working out a set at this little club in Flappers. But this isn't going to be on then, so there's nothing to plug.
Well, maybe we'll wait. But let me. You did radio. I was absolutely awful at radio. I resented when they asked me to do my material. Where they go, you do that thing, and all of a sudden I've done my whole act, and anybody that comes tonight will see it.
Well, you know what? I always found a way. I never did a morning radio show without bringing notes in. So I always had stuff about, let's say I was in Chicago, there was, something in the news or something about, it necessarily wasn't a stand-up comedy bit, but it was perfect for radio. So I always had stuff planned out. And again, you know what? I'm surprised you said that because it's so easy. Let's say you have a bit about flying, how much you hate flying. Instead of doing the material, say, I flew here. You can make it sound like it's off the cuff, and it's not material.
I was telling Mark before you got here that when I had my show in the college, which was probably the first comedy podcast to ever have comedians.
Failed podcast, right?
Right.
Failed because it's not around anymore.
I always came prepared, right?
You were one of the best. Whenever Bobby came and did the show, we knew we don't have to try.
Right.
That's why I did no preparation for him coming, and I don't even intend to say anything funny.
He's so excited that you came here today.
No, it's true. I
took you long enough to ask me.
We had everybody on, and we always if we knew Bobby was coming in, we're like, it's gonna be. We just have to sit back and enjoy it because it's gonna be easy.
You know what the worst thing? I'm sure you've gone through this. The worst part of doing morning radio was when the host didn't even bother to look you up and see what you've done. So, what have you been on?
Mm-hmm.
Really, you could say, hey, Bobby, I saw you on the Johnny Carson show. They couldn't even.
Could they look us up when we first started doing it? Was there anywhere to look us up?
Well, there wasn't.
There was no Wikipedia when we started.
When I had the first time I had Slayton on, I went and got the DVD off of his website, the Pitbull of Comedy. Remember you had those DVDs for sale?
Yes, I do.
And I watched it the night before. I got all hyped up for you coming in. I remember, and this is kind of a good story that relates a little bit to Bobby, that I was good friends with his opener. Yitzhak Trackman, who you'd call him Yitzy.
Oh, yeah, Yitzy.
Brad
Yeah,
Trackman.
Yitzy, yes. Yeah, he was great.
So, like, at the time, I was early in comedy, and to know Brad Trackman that opened for Bobby Slayton, to me, Bobby Slayton, it's like, one of the most famous, great, big comedians. Now I know better, but back then I was like, wow, you opened for Bobby Slayton. That's amazing. So, like, Trackman became, like, somebody I would, like, look up to because he opened for Slayton. And anyway.
That's pathetic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
A guy like Trackman, that's his big claim to fame that he opened for me. Like you've opened.
That was a good job.
But you play with Jerry. That's different than Trackman opening for me. At least you get to go on a private jet and play in front of a giant theater. Trackman would take the bus.
That was
and the
like
subway
very
to open
impressive to me to have a friend that opened for Bobby Slayton was like very big. So anyway, I go out to LA on a trip with my little brother Josh. We're like, I gotta see. I said I want to see the Comedy Store. I've never seen the Comedy Store. It's a legendary place. Let's go there. We go there. Long story short, we're walking, the Comedy Store, there's that patio and there's
Yes,
like a
of
little
course.
thing you can go around to go to the back. We're going around and somebody says, hey, kid, you're a comedian, right? I look over, it's Andrew Dice Clay. I said, yeah, I am. He says to these people, he says, can't you see I'm talking to a comedian? Stop bothering me. So he says, who's this? I says, my little brother. He says, you guys come to the kitchen with me. You're comedians. Come and talk to me. So I go back there with him, and we really hit it off. He says, where are you from? I said, New York. Oh, he goes, I'm from New York. He had a girl with him. He goes, hold on a minute. Let's test this guy. He goes, where do you get the best potato knish? I said, Carnegie Deli. Oh, he got it, So he's going one after another. He said, what'd you do right before you came here? I said, we got Slurpees. He goes, oh, babe, what do I love? She goes, Slurpees, Andrew. Slurpees. I love Slurpees. Hold on a minute. What's the best Slurpee? I said, Coca-Cola. Answer. Coca-Cola's his favorite. I said, Coca-Cola, Andrew. Okay, so anyway, he says, you and I are going to be friends. I want to exchange numbers. So I give him my number. All night he's calling me. 2, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. He's calling me up. Just to harass me, but it was funny, Every
funny.
time I'd fall asleep, he'd get a call. He'd go, hey, kid, you want to go down to Sunset Boulevard and pick up some hookers? I'm like half asleep. He goes, what, are you sleeping? All right, I'll talk to you later. 2 hours later, hey, kid, there's some guy, he's complaining that my kid's drumming is keeping him up. What do you think? Should I take a crowbar and break his freaking legs? I said, I don't think that's a good idea. Smart advice. I like you, so... Hangs up.
Meanwhile, has he done your show?
No, so
We got in touch with him recently, and they said he's like you. He said he wants to have something to plug.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm saying there's more to the story.
So get this. So he says, all right. He says, listen, I know when I see talent, I could tell. Jim Norton, Jim Florentine, all these guys, when I saw them, they were where you are. And then they opened for the Dice Man, and then they got big careers. You're going to be the next guy. We're going to do stadiums together and this and that.
And he hadn't seen your stand-up.
No. So I get all excited, right? So you keep in touch with him a little bit over MySpace, because MySpace was a thing. He says, I'm coming to New York to Caroline's. Come and do the weekend with me. I said, oh, that's exciting. So I come down and he goes, all right. He says, I haven't seen you yet, so you're not going to be doing any stand-up, but you're going to sell my merch after the shows. So he says, we'll start you there and you can pay your dues. I said, okay. So he says, he gives me this like sweaty, kind of like what you're wearing, but it says Dice on it, that he wore in the show. He goes, bring this up after the first show, and I want you to auction it off, see how much you could get. I got $70 on the last one or something. I said, okay, I'm going to do this like Yom Kippur. I know how to auction stuff. I grew up in a Sephardic congregation. These Moroccan guys, they know how to do it. So I'm going to go up there. I'm going to auction this thing. So I'm doing it. I'm like channeling these guys from the synagogue. I'm like, we got 150. Do we hear 175? This is the official merchandise worn by the legend Andrew Dice Clay on stage tonight. It's got his sweat. You'll never find another one like it. It's one of a kind. We have 150. We have 2. Anyway, I got a lot of money for it. I don't remember exactly how much, but hundreds of bucks. He goes, you're the best I've ever seen at this. We're going out. Carnegie Deli on me. Potato knishes. Okay. So go to Carnegie Deli, he gets potato knishes. He's like, we're doing some selfies. You're in the Dice camera. Nobody gets in the Dice camera. This is big. He says, I'm telling you, you're going to be opening for me all over the country. Okay. So then I go to Brad Trackman. I said, after this whole thing happens, I said, Brad, how do I play this? Because I want to figure out how to actually be opening for him, but last time I wind up selling merch, you opened for Slayton. Give me some advice. How do I parlay this into like, an opening career? So he says, you got to get him on the phone and thank him for the Carnegie Deli and for the opportunity for Caroline's. He says, but, don't leave him a message or something. Thank him. You want to get a conversation going. Get a conversation. Be grateful. Say thank you. And then use that opportunity to say, hey, I have an open calendar here. If you have any dates that I could fill, I'd love to do. I said, okay, great. I call Dice. It goes to his machine. I hang up. I wait another day. I call him. It goes to his machine. I did it for like 7 days in a row. Then I get a message on MySpace, and it's from Andrew Dice Clay. It says, hey, kid, you called too much. Lose my number. Because forgot about caller ID. I just look like a psycho calling him and calling
Right.
So did you ever get to open for him?
Never got to open. I got so distraught that day. I got so upset. I lost my cell phone, and I literally lost his number.
I think I have his number if you want it.
I never.
By the way, is that how you started working for Jerry? Do you selling his merch and the same kind of
I
situation?
did not. He actually doesn't sell merch.
He doesn't?
No.
Well, think about how much money he could be making. Jerry could be doing really well.
Yeah, he could actually.
I'll auction his stuff up for him if you want.
I hated with a passion. A lot of comedians would sell merchandise, and it was a great way to make a living. And it was amazing to me some of the crap that they would sell. I really needed the money, so I had my CDs. I never sold the DVDs because those were owned by the company that made them, and it was owned by Showtime, and so I couldn't get a deal of it. But I printed up my CDs, and they were only a couple of bucks. I sold them whatever, $10, $15. But I always had somebody sell them for me, and I'd always tip them depending on how well I did. But there were some guys that making a fortune in the clubs as a performer and then making a fortune on merchandise and still selling it themselves. It was such a chintzy thing, horrible thing to do. I can tell you stories of a few guys making a fortune. And then when people were suggesting that they get one of the people from the club to sell it, they wouldn't even tip them. Just such cheap bastards.
But the people would rather have met you than a guy that's working for you, after the show. I mean, the country western guys.
But I would stand there signing my seat. No.
Oh, I see.
You got to stay there. Oh,
Right.
no. That's the thing. I mean, Alice Cooper doesn't do it. The Stones don't do it. But I would sit there and sign stuff. And they were only buying it, I think, half the time because they wanted to meet you. But people would buy anything because I remember Cheech and Chong, Tommy Chong, would sell a regular household baggie, and it would say Tommy Chong stash bag.
Right.
And he would sign it, sell for $5, $10, whatever he sold it for. It was just a glad bag,
Yeah.
I mean, that takes a lot of balls, to do something like that.
Did you sign a lot of cleavage?
Did I?
Yeah.
A couple. It was so stupid.
What-
I was just humiliated by standing there hawking up.
Yeah.
You got to cut that.
We'll beep it. Don't worry.
Hawking stuff.
Yeah.
Can't even say that.
When I would open for Ralphie May, about half the people, the women, signed the cleavage. Signed the
Really?
cleavage. Oh yeah, there was a lot of cleavage signing going
Maybe
on.
because Ralphie also had cleavage, they felt comfortable
Yeah.
around him. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's a good possibility.
But I just really hated signing stuff. But I needed the money, and I did it only for the money. And like I said, of course you got to stand there and meet people.
Do you sell your book?
Huh? No, the
Comedians?
book I didn't know because I don't really. No, my book.
Have you seen his book?
No.
The greatest photos of comedians. It's
Well, I
unbelievable.
didn't. It's not my
Really?
book.
I
I
understand. I know.
just wrote the forward.
Right.
Okay.
What's the name of the book?
It's called Small Book of Jewish Comedians, but it was put out by a company in England who does a lot of coffee table books, some beautiful ones on the Rat Pack and Led Zeppelin and movie posters. I mean, really, really high quality. So the publisher, I know him, and he called me up and said, would you like to write the forward for my book? He actually, and I said, sure. And then he told me some of the Jewish comedians he had listed. And there was Jonathan Winters and Robin Williams and Phyllis Diller. And I said, wait. None of these are Jews.
They're not Jews,
I said, let me at least pick. I said, you don't have Milton Berle on here. You don't have Sid Caesar. You don't have Jerry Lewis. You don't have Jerry Seinfeld. I said, let me at least help you. And then he got the photographs. It's his book. But anyway, they sent me boxes of them. But I don't do stand-up anymore. And even if I did, I just, the money was terrible. The money was going down in the world of stand-up. So I don't sit down.
Why don't you do stand up?
I don't like it anymore.
You just like
I hate it.
Why?
I don't want to say grew out of it.
I'll tell you.
I don't have a love for it like I used to. And if you don't love stand-up, you're not going to be great at stand-up.
so when you're doing a show in a couple weeks.
Well, what I'm doing, this is funny. The Just for Laughs comedy festival in Montreal, which
Right.
just went bankrupt. Have you ever been up there for that?
I have a couple of times. I was there when they owned the Milton
Have
Berle.
you ever gone up to do anything up there?
I have been up there. Yeah.
Okay, well, they're out of business now. They went bankrupt after 40-something years. But there are comedy festivals now all over the world. This was the original one. It's the granddaddy of all comedy festival, and it was mind-boggling. It was the smoothest, most amazing operation. And basically what it was, for people that never heard of it, there were, it was 3 weeks of stand-up comedy and comedy sketches. 1 week would be in French for the people in Canada, and the others would be, the Bill Maher's and the Jerry Seinfelds and Louis Black's doing one-man shows. There were new shows that were going on.
The
And
Jewish
then
show.
Huh?
The Jewish show.
It was like
Well, I
a
did the
comedy
Jewish show.
summer fantasy camp.
Right.
Type of thing.
And it was amazing because the hotel was filled with comics and everybody, I see all these old friends of mine, Carrot Top, Penn and Teller, just everybody, new people, old people, agents, managers. It was an amazing, they had seminars during the day for comedy writers, and it was just incredible. And they'd honor George Schlatter from Laughing, or this guy or that guy. So they would have the Jewish show, and then they had an ethnic show, and then they had a gay show, and they had all these shows. But one of the most popular shows was the show I hosted for years called The Nasty Show. And what was great about The Nasty Show, I think the original incarnation of it, it was called The Dirty Show one night with Don Marrero hosting. And then they changed it, called it The Nasty Show, and they wanted me to headline it. And I said, I don't want to follow all these comics. Let me host it, because that's how I started out, as a host. I was a really good MC. There's no pressure on you. The only pressure you have is opening the show and greeting people and getting laughs. And once, I'm sure you've emceed shows in the old days. So anyway, I would do it, and there were people like Joe Rogan. There was Louis C.K. I think Dave Chappelle did. It was an amazing, Robert Schimmel, the great Greg Giraldo. Half these guys are dead, Otto and George. So there'd be 5 comics.
Only half that team is
What's
dead.
that?
I said only half of the team of Otto and George is dead.
Well,
the other
the
one
puppet
lives
was
on.
never really looking too good. Who knows what happened to the puppet? But anyway, so I hosted the show, and it became the biggest show at the festival because every comic that was up there was looking for a television deal or a writing deal. And this show, the comics, it's just dirty and filthy and nasty. Not just necessarily dirty, but just things other comics wouldn't say, whatever it
Right.
was.
That's how I felt about the roasts now.
I think there's some funny stuff. They're hard to watch. They make me cringe.
Me
some of the
too.
roasts.
Me too. It was, again, I don't want to sound like an old guy, but the old ones with Dean, all those guys seemed like they were friends. This is just hired guns that can write
You're absolutely right about that. It was amazing because when Bob Hope and Ronald Reagan and Johnny Carson and Buddy Hackett and the legends would sit there, these guys all had dinner at each other's houses. Their wives were friends.
Right.
This is just, and there's a lot of people that aren't even comics. The Tom Brady roast is athletes, but whatever. So the point I was making when you asked me if I'm doing a show, so the Nasty Show became really, really, really big. And we had to add more shows. And the thing that was sad, the show became so big that we did it the week before all the agents and the TV people came up. So our show would get these amazing reviews, and they'd be all over the hotel, these big write-ups. Then, when the official comedy started with the Just for Laughs Festival, that's when the agents, all our stuff came down, and all the, it's like our show never happened.
Yeah.
So it became so big. Festival's out of business. Andy Nolan, the ex-president, calls me up about 3 weeks ago and says there's no comedy here in Montreal in July except for the couple of comedy clubs. Because the festival's out of business. You want to come up and do a show? And I said, I don't know if anybody's going to come see me. They didn't come see me. They came to see the Nasty Show. I was a great host, but it wasn't me. It was all these. They knew they would see people that they've never seen before, people that they loved. So they got this new theater in Montreal, 400 seats. I go, I can't sell out 400 seats. Nobody's coming to see me. He goes, well, let's just try it. I said, well, I have nothing else to do. So I made the mistake of telling him it was okay to book it. Bobby Slayton's back. Nastier than ever. And then I realized, well, I'm not nasty anymore. I'm just cranky. I'm crankier than ever. I eat dinner at 5. I'm in bed by 9. I'm cranky. I hate everything, but I'm not nasty. I'm too tired to be nasty.
More miserable than ever.
So I'm going to work in a couple of weeks to go practice for this show. Because now I get 400 people. The show was sold out.
Wow.
And now I got to go to Montreal, be nasty
Congrats.
for an hour.
So when you don't work a while, because when I don't work a while, I get a little nervous before I go up. And
I haven't slept in a month. I'm
worried?
I'm going to I think this will be on after, but I told you I'm going to this little Yoo-hoo room, 60 people, which is nothing
Where
for
is
us.
this?
60 people at Flappers Comedy Club. If you want to come.
Yeah, I want to come.
It's only 60 people, and it's not even sold out yet. I'm going to work on this hour. I went up to the San Francisco Bay Area last week, actually outside the city, a little town called Brentwood, not our O.J. Brentwood, but little town, 100-seat theater, did 2 shows, and I couldn't sleep for weeks knowing that I have to do an hour. And I was glancing at my notes. I was using my notes. So he asked me if I
Yeah.
I have every night I wake up with a panic attack. Going,
Me too.
I've done this for 40 years.
You know
I
what's
know.
going to happen? You're going to have such a great time at this show in Montreal.
I
You're
think
gonna,
so.
You're
But
going to
as
fall
you-
back in love with stand-up. That's what's going to happen.
Well, the problem is I haven't really written too much new material. I don't really want to write new material. You know, the you know, when this whole thing started with with TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and everybody social media, and now this TikTok stars doing 15 minutes selling out rooms, but they can't headline because they only have 15 minutes and they suck.
Right.
But there's a new generation of comics that, unless you're Jerry Seinfeld or Bill Burr or these giants of comedy selling out, arenas and stadiums, these guys are playing the comedy clubs, and
Right.
I don't want to, there's no audience. My audience is either dead, living in Florida, or just sit home watching Netflix, like me.
Yeah, you're wrong.
I can't
You're wrong.
really sit.
I'm
they're not
sorry to
coming
tell
out.
you, but you're wrong. I
Really?
don't like to be abrasive with you, but you're wrong. People love you. I love you. I know a lot of guys that love you, and
But-
you're more well known and well liked than you think you are.
Well, put it this way. I just put on, and again, I don't have a big social media following, but I just put on Facebook, hey, I'm going to be at the Yoo-Hoo Room at Flappers Comedy Club on July 12th. You see 60 people. Right away, I sold 25 tickets, and that was the end of that. It'll probably sell out, but
It'll sell
so
out.
it's not like all these people are dying. If I did more social media stuff, I could sell 60
And
tickets.
your stage presence is one of the best I've ever seen.
Thank you. I appreciate
You
that.
agree with that, Mark?
I do. I do.
appreciate
Like the way he commands a
We never
stage.
worked on the road together, I don't think, but we worked the clubs together.
What's that?
We never worked on the road together. But
Well, I didn't work with a lot of guys because you were headlining. I
Yeah.
was headlining. Why would I work with you? I mean, how could there's a lot of guys.
Sure.
I mean, I opened up for Jerry. Jerry was a headliner. The guys were our generation, and you remember this better than anybody. I was starting to headline, and it was the Improv in San Diego, and me and Jerry were sharing a condo. This is like a long time, like 4 years ago, a long
Yeah.
time ago.
Yeah.
It was years before Seinfeld. So I was getting like $1,000 a week. Jerry got the ungodly sum of $5,000 a week. I remember that. And we would go, we'd go to SeaWorld every day, and Jerry would be coming up with jokes. And every day at 4:00, he would shut the bedroom door and work for an hour, even back then,
Right.
But,
Amazing.
but since then, there's a lot of people. The only reason I ever worked with Elaine Boozler or Michael Keaton or Bruce Baum or Jay Leno is because I was a young comic opening for them. But you and I and Reiser and a lot of guys were kind of on the same, starting out at the same time. So
Yeah.
none of us would be, unless you're at one of the showcase clubs in New York. It was me and I was in San Francisco with Robin and Dana and Kevin Pollak, so that was, and Paula Poundstone and Bobcat Goldthwait. But,
So
those guys I'd work
you
with.
had something that maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right here. Agents would see me, tell me I'm one of the funniest guys, and never do anything for me.
I could tell you, well, not only did I
What
have,
happened? Did you have similar situations? Like,
are you kidding?
everyone knows you. They
Oh
know
my
how
God.
funny you are. And then why didn't the show, people used to tell me, you should get they'd say to me, you should have your own show. You should.
Okay, well, look, your friend Jerry Seinfeld's a perfect example of a guy who's one of the greatest comics ever, who had one of the greatest sitcoms ever, if not the greatest. But there's a guy that it was the luck that he got the show because Brandon Tartikoff, they had a spot and it took off. Him and Larry David, two of the funniest people in the history of television. But that show almost didn't happen.
Yeah.
I remember going to auditions with Jerry and both of us going, I can't act. I hate acting. Jerry would sit there, go to more acting than you. I go, no, I'm worse than you. So, I mean, it's a matter of luck and timing and being in the right place at the right time. You know that,
And then delivering the goods.
what's that?
Because
There's
then,
a lot of guys. Look, I would kill, and agents would see me. I had some great agents, and they never did anything for me. I think, and I went to a lot of pitch meetings, and a lot of them came really close to going. And I don't want to bore people with the showbiz crap, but like, Carsey Werner, who did Roseanne and did some of the greatest sitcoms in the history of television. I had a great meeting with them, one of the greatest meetings you could ever have. And Terry Winter was with me. Terry Winter went on to work on The Sopranos, and Boardwalk Empire was his show. And Terry Winter did, Vinyl with
Yeah.
the great Bobby Cannavale. Anyway, he pitched a show about me being the devil and, at a home and my family hounding me. And Carsey Werner loved it. And it was, but the problem was Roseanne had just done a show and the devil was in it. And the Christian religious right gave them so much crap that
Wow.
they said, anyway, there were a million situations like this. And then somebody wound up doing our show. And, I had a show called King of Queens. I heard that was taken, but with J.J. Wall. It wasn't the same show, but We pitched at CBS, and then so I mean, I'm not. Things happen. It doesn't really matter how funny you are. And then I was with David Steinberg and Larry Bresner, who managed Robin and Billy, and I think at the time
Michael Richards.
Huh? Michael Rich. Was that Rollins and Jaffe, the original parent company?
Yeah,
I don't want to bore people with these chauffeur
Yeah.
stories, but my manager, Sherry Marsh, who I was with for many, many years, joined their company, and David Steinberg was busy on the road with Robin Williams, and Larry Bresner, who kind of discovered Robin, was busy producing Robin's movies, Good Morning Vietnam, and all these films, and Popeye. So neither of them really had time for me. So he said, yeah, agents didn't do anything for you. I was with one of the biggest comedy
Right.
management companies, and they did nothing for me.
You get lost.
And now I'm dating Larry Bresner's widow. Is my girlfriend.
Oh, no
That's
kidding.
right. That's
What?
right.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an amazing. You know that story,
I do. You met at the funeral.
huh?
You met at the
I
funeral.
met her at her husband's funeral. And then oh, is that funny?
I think so.
Death is funny.
Yeah.
Well, I can't believe you've ever heard this. All right, so it's
Get
not
them
as,
while they're down.
it's not as
Yeah.
long. It's not as long-winded as your dice story, but yeah, a little bit more entertaining. But that was actually a great story.
Thank you.
But you think when you have a guest on, you give him more time. But
Right,
you
right,
could
right,
be telling the
I
story
thought the
anytime
same
you
thing.
want.
I thought the same
Tell
thing.
them you should, during Margaret's show, you should have told that story because
He doesn't get the stage time like we got. So
I'm not
right,
sure I
right.
understand.
Yeah,
No, but you did. You're very noble. Very noble. If I had merchandise, you'd be the guy.
Thank you.
Now, Larry Bresner, who worked for this company and all these people, and he was a major, legendary, manager and producer. So he, when he passed away, his widow, who I'd never met before, asked me to speak at the funeral. So, Billy Crystal, because he managed Billy, went up, and Billy did 20 minutes of Rob Reiner and John Lovitz, and oh my God, it went on and on and on, and Jiminy Glick, and Martin Short, and it's like 2 hours long, and they put me up at the end. I told a quick story, and my wife was with me. I think she died 2 months later. So I called up his widow. I didn't realize she lived around the corner. I mean, literally in LA, 5 minutes. That's next door neighbors in Los Angeles. 5-minute drive,
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
So I said, we should just go have a drink. I wasn't looking to date her. My wife had been gone 3-4 months by now, and I was relishing my freedom. I loved being in my house by myself. It was great. Once I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. I was not looking for another broad to live with.
Yeah.
And I've been with her ever since. Dominique is right there. My dead wife is on one arm, and Dominique is right there. And for all you Jews out there, underneath it says "Sheket b'vakasha."
Quiet, please.
quiet, please. Yeah.
You know what that means?
Quiet, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got that in Hebrew school all the time.
So what is that?
but-
What's the connection between Dominique and Quiet, please?
Well, no, I would. She'd always say to me, I don't say. Came up one day, "Sheket b'vakasha."
So you got your wife on one arm, Dominique on the other. It's like a three-way.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I got other tattoos. We don't need to see them. I
Yeah.
want to keep my pants on. But anyway, but that's all I would hear in Hebrew school. Mordecai, Sheket b'vakasha, which is more like the way they said it was more like shut the F up. It wasn't so much, please be quiet.
Yeah.
The way they used it.
Did you have a big formal Jewish education?
Doing what?
Did you have a big formal Jewish
Yeah, it was the
education?
worst thing in my life. That's why I have zero. I know you're a religious guy. I
Him
have zero.
too, him too.
Zero religion in my life. My daughter has zero religion. I told her about the Holocaust and ended right there. I hated Hebrew school so much. I never forgave my parents. I've tortured them their whole life. And I hate myself at 12 years old for not telling my parents to go to hell. I'm not going to Hebrew school. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
What did you hate?
What?
What did you? I didn't like it either. But
Why
what,
did
I got
hated
kicked
it.
out.
When my grandfather told me he was in Auschwitz, I said, "Yeah, but you didn't go to Hebrew school 3 days a week, so stop bitching and moaning."
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
you
bad.
got to stay home in the camp, and
So when you Hebrew school is so bad. Does
3 days a week. Two
I
days
understand.
Sunday.
I went 5 days a week.
What?
I went 5 days a week.
Oh my God, I can't.
So does that
I
mean
went 6 days a week. Not kidding.
Yeah,
Like
I would-
Sundays too.
How many after school? How many hours?
How many hours after school?
Did you went to Hebrew school after school?
No, it was a Hebrew school.
Oh, you went to a Jew school?
Yeah.
Oh, I went to regular school, and then when all the kids were playing baseball and going home and
Right.
going to the pizza parlor, I was on a bus going to this horrible place.
Oh, that's miserable
Young-
because
oh, it was
everybody else has their freedom and now you gotta go.
horrible.
Put
I
that
think
aside
in my
for a second.
situation, nobody had freedom.
I hated my parents for it. My mother's 93. I still give a crap about it. And Woody Allen when I worked for Woody, if I may drop a name.
Radio Days?
What?
Radio Days? Which
No,
one?
I did like 3 things for him. But when I worked, we used to have dinner together. And when
I
Woody told
remember
me
that. Him
he
too,
would
by the way.
never, ever forgive his parents for sending him to Hebrew school. He said it was the worst thing he's ever
Just a quick thing about that. So Hebrew school aside, because I hated Hebrew school, I had rabbis that used to beat me up, hit me with a stick, smack me in the head. But I believe in God. Hebrew school aside, that's a different issue.
Okay.
Where do you stand there?
With God?
Yeah. You can believe or not believe, but it has nothing to do with Hebrew school.
You know what? I don't give it much thought. I'm always thanking my guardian angel. A lot of good things have happened to me. And thanks, whoever listening. But like George Carlin used to say, and a lot of people, I don't think there's a guy in the sky watching us. I find that hard to believe. But there's something out there that, when my wife died, I met my girlfriend. And, once you go to the doctor and you
So
have
he's like a dating service.
Huh?
He's like a dating service.
Yeah.
Your wife died, and you met your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank
he
you,
is a
God.
very proudly Jewish guy. I mean, he's got Hebrew tattooed on his arm.
I don't
it's a-
sit there screaming about it on stage, and I don't talk about it. I mean, I've mentioned it. I've mentioned it a bunch. I don't hide it. I don't promote it. I'm Jewish,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Israel. I'm not I don't want to talk about it. I'm not a big fan of what they're doing now, but I get it. And it's whatever. I don't want to get in the middle of that mess.
No, yeah.
Right.
I understand.
By the way, Hezbollah now has the recruiting women, the Lesbollah.
Wow.
Because angry lesbians, to send them to fight, nobody's more frightening than angry lesbians. That's a new joke I'm
Lesbollah.
trying out. The
good.
Lesbollah.
Very good.
Who's more frightening than angry? Thank you.
How'd you become friends with Woody?
Through Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay.
That's another story.
So
Can I hear it?
We have something in common in a way, and not with Jeffrey, but
Well, you like young girls too?
who doesn't?
Okay, silly question.
But I knew Bill Cosby pretty good, and we used to go places together, and he would pick me up in his car. Up
And
in
you like
Lake
Jerry
Tahoe.
knew him and Leno. Or what do you?
Yeah. Well, Jerry knew him. He would fly into the same airport where Jerry was, and they would talk. And he had Camilla on the back of his plane, so he was very kind to me. And then I didn't know that this was, So you knew this guy before all that came about, right?
Yeah, but Cosby, you believe all that stuff about him. He really was kind of a horrendous human being. And what I
Yeah.
had him, right?
Yeah.
Epstein. You want to hear the story?
Yes,
I mean, it might
yes.
take the rest of the podcast,
Let's
but I'll
hear
tell you.
it.
And then people said, you shouldn't talk about it. I go, I have nothing to hide because, Jeffrey Epstein, I get a call one day from my manager who goes, there's some rich guy in New York. This is many years ago. I guess Jeffrey was for his 60th birthday or 50th, whatever. And he died at 67. So it was a while ago. My manager gets a call and says, this woman wants you to do a private party in New York for a billionaire. And I don't know if you've ever done private parties. They're never fun. I've done a
Terrible.
dozen of them.
I've done them. I hate every second of it.
I've done them in somebody's living room. I've done it where people say, we need a microphone, that kind of stuff. Oh, you need, it's horrible. Okay.
Yeah, I've done it too.
But they've always paid well, and I've always pulled it out of my butt, and I've made them work. Okay, so anyway, I said, why don't you just have the woman call me? Let me find out what it's all about. Turns out it's Ghislaine Maxwell. I didn't know who she was. So she calls me up. She goes, my boyfriend, and she tells me his name. I didn't know him. He's a big comedy fan. And he wants you to perform at his 50th birthday party. And I said, well, I don't really do birthday parties. She goes, well, Woody Allen's going to be there. President Clinton's going to be there. He wasn't president at the time. The comedian from Rush Hour, what's his name? The black guy?
Chris Tucker.
Yeah, Chris Tucker's going to be there. Some Nobel Prize winners are going to be there. Jeffrey had an eclectic group of friends. And nobody really, I think, knew about what his, the whole child thing. But anyway, so I said, well, what does it pay? She goes, well, it doesn't pay anything.
Right.
But we'll fly you in and put you up. And I said, let me think about this. And then I said, well, I'm not going to go to New York. But a trip to New York would be great. You're going to put me up. And I'm not going to sit there at a private party with these guys sitting around the table eating, with my little Joker hat on with the bells. So I call her back and I said, it'll be a nice trip. I'll bring my wife. She goes, no wives. No wives. I said, look, I'll come to the dinner. I'll sit there because I want to meet all these people. I think it'll be fun.
Right.
But I'm not going to stand up and do stand-up. I'll sit there and, I promise you I'll be funny. I know how to be funny at dinner and maybe I'll tell some jokes, but I don't want to be forced into doing it. She called me back. Thing never happened. But 6 months later, Jeffrey comes to see me at one of the Florida improvs. He's a big comedy fan. I think it was in Miami or West Palm Beach Improv because he had a home in Palm
That's
Beach.
one of my favorite ones to
And
play.
he brought, I think it was Cameron, who directed Titanic. He was some major director, and he had an entourage of people, no children. He had a bodyguard. He had Ghislaine Maxwell, who he introduced as his helicopter pilot. He told me to go back and forth to this island. He was a big fan of comedy. Anyway, he came to see me over the next year or two at a few of these places. So one time, he comes to see me, I think, again in Florida, and he says to me, Woody Allen's a big fan of yours. There's a joke that you do that he loves. And the joke was, and it turns out, the joke was, somebody gave it to me actually. The joke was, I've been married for 20 years. With a windshield factor, it's 40 years. Okay. So Woody loves that joke. He never watches comics, but he loves that joke. And I told him whose joke it was, and I'm sure he'd like to meet you someday. And then he says to me, Woody's coming to my house next week for dinner. I go, God, I'd love to go. And he goes, you're more than welcome, I'm sure. I go, I don't want to invite myself.
Right.
He goes, well, we're going to be in New York. And if you want to come, it's just me and Woody and Sun Yi. If you want to fly out, you can come to dinner at my house. So I mentioned it to Kevin Pollak and to Dana Carvey and some friends and a couple of other people. Like, are you crazy? Dinner with Woody Allen? You got to go. And again, I knew nothing about Jeffrey Epstein.
Right.
You got to go. So I flew to New York, and they actually put me up in an apartment building that Jeffrey owned. And I went to dinner, and I said, I'm not going to talk to Woody about any of his movies. You know what I really like? Eddie Hall.
Yeah.
But I knew that he liked basketball, and I knew he liked jazz music, and I love the blues.
Yeah.
And I found that we had a tremendous affinity because he played San Francisco in the 50s and 60s. The Purple Onion,
Right.
The Hungry Eye.
Sure.
And then I was the next generation or two generations later. So I knew Jonathan Winters, and I knew Woody Robin, and I knew, a lot of the Mort Saul, and we had a lot, and Enrico, who ran this. Anyway, we knew a lot of the same people.
Yeah.
And Woody was fascinated talking comedy. And he knew Larry Bresner, who worked for the company that managed him. So we talked for about 2 or 3 hours about absolutely nothing. And about jazz and about blues and about the Marx Brothers. Because I knew he was a big Marx Brothers fan. So I would mention the Marx Brothers. And then he'd be leaning over Sun Yi. Now, he's the one that doesn't talk. That's Harpo. Because she didn't know anything about what we were talking about.
Right.
He loves
nice
Nichols
people.
and May, too.
So I was drinking wine,
Yeah.
and I had to get up to take a leak, being the old Jew I am, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And Woody had 2 or 3 beers, and he never got up. 3-hour dinner. And it didn't sound like his character, but as we're walking out, I said, it's amazing to me that a man your age, especially a Jewish man, who had 3 beers, never got up once to take a leak. And he does it. That's one of my big attributes. He went, But anyway, we had a few more dinners, and Jeffrey calls me up one day, and he says, every time I'd go to New York to play, he would give me this beautiful apartment. My wife stayed with me, and later on, after she died, my girlfriend would stay. It was a regular, legitimate apartment building. It wasn't like this house of, ill repute. It wasn't like, the house of the rising sun, the Bunny Ranch. But there were a few beautiful women walking around, but older, not teenagers. And I said to the doorman, is that one of, yes, that's one of Jeffrey's girls, But there were families. Anyway, so he asked me to put together a dinner and invite some comics. I said, well, for me to be in New York at the same time as other comics, I called Robert Wall, he wasn't around. But Louis Black came with me to a dinner. It was Louis Black and David Brenner. And Woody invited Dick Cavett. And then in the middle of dinner, or as we were ending dinner, David Blaine, the magician, shows up and starts doing magic tricks.
Wow.
Oh, and Jay Thomas was there. And this might have been the
Thomas.
second dinner. Jackie the Drunk Man Martling and Nick DiPaolo. I think that was the second dinner because Jeffrey loved to be entertained by comics. And Woody had a great time at these dinners. He loved this. And everybody would say to me, Woody's going to put you in something. Woody's going to put you in something. And finally, he calls me up after 3 or 4 projects and asks me if I want to be in this Amazon show. Did you see? It didn't get great reviews, but what's her name made a comeback.
Elaine.
What?
Elaine?
Yeah.
Red May.
Elaine May,
Elaine May,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, did you see it?
Yes, I saw it.
Crisis in 16.
Yeah, it was great.
And Woody gave me this giant part. I thought it was pretty good,
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus did good. But, Woody, they like to rake him over the coals because nothing is like the Rolling Stones. When nothing's as good as Beggar's Banquet and nothing's as good as Annie Hall, everything is, they're judging it by his 2, 3 great movies.
Right.
Every great director would have that. Hitchcock would. No matter what you
Right.
did, you can't live up to what you did before.
Right.
So Woody gave me a scene to do, and I'm not a good actor, and I can't memorize stuff. I hated doing sitcoms, even a few lines. I just hated it. I lost so much sleep over it. I stopped auditioning for stuff. But he gives me a 7-page scene.
Wow.
It was a really, really long scene. And Woody's not really talking. It's not like, when you're acting, hey, how are you? And you're waiting for their answer. Woody's ranting and raving about stuff, so it's not like we have any interaction. I'm doing a 7-page monologue.
Right.
I went to 2 different acting coaches that I've used in the past. Both of them said to me in their own words, this is going to be hard for a real actor. I'm not sure how you're going to pull this off. Maybe, you're going to do this? Really? Okay. And you're supposed to be eating at the same time? Okay, let's try this again.
Yeah.
So my wife dies a week or two. Thank God I had 5 weeks to do this. It wasn't like I had to do it in a week.
Right.
So when I say all day long, from morning to night, I went over these scenes. I taped it. I had actors come over and help me. Richard Lewis had given me some great advice. I forgot what it was, but he gave me some great acting advice. And I would sit in my jacuzzi. I'd be in the shower. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, and I'd go over these lines over and over, and I taped them all day long. I would write them out, and it was killing me. But I had 6 weeks to do it, and I got to New York a few days earlier, and up to the day of shooting, I'm walking around the block like a mental patient, talking to myself.
Yeah.
I when I say I went over this 1,000 times, a minimum of 500, 600 minimum. I mean, I was freaking out. So I sit down with Woody. It's him and me in a luncheonette, and we're doing the scene. And I said, I hope I don't up because sorry. I said, I hope I don't screw this up. He goes, you screw it up, we'll just do it again. Nobody cares. He was very cool about it, and it went great. But
Wow, good for you.
and it got me nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody saw it.
Yeah, I saw it.
I did the same as you.
Yeah. And what does it get me? 5 years later, I get on your dumb podcast. Good.
There you go.
That's a great payoff to the whole Woody Allen.
Yeah.
We wanted to tell you how much we enjoyed that scene. That's why we brought you here.
That's it.
Great.
So,
I'm like you. When I get a scene or I've gotten scenes, I go over 1,000 times.
1,000 times. And what I always hated about sitcoms, and this, and look, even a guy like Jerry Seinfeld, okay, or anybody, if you're a star of a show's 30 minutes. So after commercials, it's maybe 20 minutes, and maybe you're in 10 minutes of that. But it's still, they keep changing the lines on you, and it's just.
Show like Jerry's show, they were changing up until the last day. Saturday Night Live, they were changing that last day. All of a sudden, the actor would get new pages, and it's a whole different scene.
At least on SNL, I mean, that doesn't say it makes it that much easier, but at least you have, the cheat sheets and the cue cards because you always see them looking at it.
Shelley Winters, she tells that story. Maybe it was in the Michael Richards book that she was on Saturday Night Live, Shelley Winters, and she didn't want to do it. She's an Academy Award-winning actress. She's a big star.
Right.
She decides to do it. Then she gets, the day before, they give her all these new lines. And she calls her agents, I'm not doing this. I want double pay, if they're going to keep giving me this and that. And she just freaked out with it, because I would ask Paul Reiser, I go, how do you memorize this? Because he was in every scene.
Right. Oh, you know what? Yeah.
He wasn't in 10 minutes of the show.
Right.
He was in 20 minutes of the 22 minutes.
So
how do you do it?
Some guys have no
What do you
problem
say?
doing it.
No problem. Same with Jerry. I asked him the same thing. They just learned their lines and they grabbed it.
Well, what's amazing is that, Kevin Pollak, who's done a million shows, told me that when he was on Mrs. Matzo, what's it called?
Maisel.
Yeah, Maisel.
Whatever. Mrs. Matzo to me. That
Anti-Semite.
they couldn't ad-lib any of their lines. I was very lucky. Every movie that I did, there weren't big parts, but I worked for people like Barry Levinson. Yeah, I worked for Barry Levinson, who was a stand-up comic at one point. So he was letting me and Bruce Willis and Billy Bob Thornton make up lines as we went along. I worked for Amy Heckerling. For First Time to Reach Mount High, we did, and she let me do stuff. Wes Craven. I mean, I worked for some big. They were all very, very cool with letting you make up some lines. Rob Cohen, when I did the Rat Pack movie, I mean, we had to stick basically to the script, but there wasn't a live studio audience. We could try stuff again. He said, make stuff up as you go along. Which we did. But Kevin Pollak told me when he did Mrs. Maisel that the writers were playwrights and they wanted every word exactly. And Kevin would have these big, long monologues and a big, scenes, but he said it comes natural to him, which is very reminiscent of Jackie Gleason on The Honeymooners. That was done live. And they said, Jackie would get the script. And like that day or the day before, memorize the whole script.
Right.
Some
You
people
wouldn't
have that
rehearse.
ability, and some people like us are just idiots that can't do that.
So going back to Epstein, you think that was a murder?
I'll tell you what's interesting. The Jeffrey would, he gave me this apartment every time I went to New York. And, I had to, it's almost like Frank Sinatra going to see Sam Giancana. I had to go and see Jeffrey, and his secretary assistant would call me up because, sometimes Jeffrey wouldn't be in town. she'd call me up and go, Jeffrey wants to know if you can stop by this morning for a little while. So I'd go by for like 20, 30 minutes, 30, 40 minutes, and sometimes 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. He was always very busy. He had a line of people. I don't know if he had girls, whatever. I don't know anything about any of that. But I'd go because he's giving me this apartment. And all Jeffrey would do was ask me the same questions over and over and over about stand-up comedy. So when you're on stage, he was a brilliant man. You know, he went to Harvard.
Yeah.
And he was a brilliant guy. But when it came to certain things, he had that kind of, you know.
It's a sickness.
I saw another guy. I did a show with a guy. I'm not going to say who it is, but he's another billionaire guy who wanted to do stand-up. And this guy, if I tell you later who he is, you'll be, wow, I know who that guy is. It's an impressive guy. He stunk. He stunk on stage, and he paid a lot of money to take classes for years and kept trying and trying. I said, how's a guy so brilliant that he could build an empire like that? And then he goes on stage for 5 minutes, and he can't do a basic 5-minute set.
Well, that just goes to show you that it doesn't matter how much money you have. By the way, did we just have an earthquake?
It felt like it.
Felt like something, yeah.
I thought maybe Danny moved.
Thank you.
There goes your pool.
Oh, Christ.
Cracked in half.
That did feel like an earthquake.
I did.
Yeah, I think so.
I did.
Great. Lovely. I can't imagine. I can't imagine. And we're in this little bunker. You know, we're gonna go out like the Twilight Zone, and there's gonna be nothing left out there.
Yeah. Yeah. They're right. The whole thing is just
Or
flames.
we fall into the earth in the bus, and we're all trapped in this bus.
no
for-
Oh my
idea.
God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And down at the bottom is a comedy club that fell with it, and you finally get some work.
Yeah.
There's your show, right to treatment.
You still think of shows every once in a while? You think I could pitch this idea.
I would never do a show.
Really? If they came to you and said, "Listen,
I'd have to say yes because I could use the money, but I would hate being on a show. Because again, memorizing lines. The one thing that I loved with a passion, and it was so depressing when it was over, and I was talking to Susie Essman about this, I finally, 3 years ago, you know, Larry put me on Curb for an episode. They killed me right away. I committed suicide. I don't know if you saw that one with the magical vagina.
did, yeah.
And my girlfriend was freaking out that people are going to think that was her. That's wrong. Nobody ever recognized me from the show, so it's fine.
There's worse things to be known for.
Exactly. That's what I told her. You know?
Yeah.
Exactly. But it was so great. And I saw Susie there. I think Susie opened for me in the old days. And I said, how great is this that you're on this show where you guys are kind of making up stuff as you go along. You have a little outline. And, you know, it was great because they really didn't tell me anything until I got there. And I'm not good at improv, but they said, you know, the writers, you know, would give me a couple ideas and, you know, so you just kind of run with it. Oh, you're playing golf now, and you know, Larry's pants fall down, whatever. And, and you're just messing around. And between Larry, because I've known Richard Lewis for so long, Susie Essman for so long, Jeff Garland for so long, it was very comfortable for me because I knew them all.
Right.
I mean, you know, I opened for them, or they've opened up for me. And but Susie was saying how much she hated doing sitcoms, how she hated auditioning, and how great this was. And I was so happy to be on the set for a couple of days, but it was depressing when it was over. I go, this is the kind of show I'd like to do.
right.
You know, but to be there in that format where you're memorizing stuff, it just makes me too crazy. So I don't want a show.
So back to my question before. Do you think
Jeffrey.
he was murdered? Well, you were getting to that.
You know, I know what everybody else does. I mean, it's not as important as the Kennedy murders, but there's a million theories. The thing about Jeffrey is that if he was a junk food guy, you know, he would have people come over to his house, and we'd have a couple of dinners, and his chef would make magnificent meals, and Jeffrey would be sitting there with a grilled cheese sandwich and potato chips. You know, he never, you know, Zagat, from the Zagat guy, the big restaurant guy, you know, he came over, he goes, I don't know how you and Zagat care so much about food. He would get mad, you foodies, you know, and he would really just sit there eating potato chips and, you know, hostess yodels or whatever, ding-dongs. So when he was in jail, you know, then they wouldn't let him out. You know, somebody told me that his lawyers, if you have enough money, or if you have, you can sit there with your lawyers for like 2 hours a day to get out of your cell. And I read this, I don't think anybody told me this, but they said the junk food machine was empty every day by him, or every couple of days. So it was almost like the guy that killed, you know, the Twinkie defense from the sugar, the guy that killed the mayor in San Francisco.
Milk?
Yeah, Harvey Milk.
Harvey
Was a
Milk.
guy, and they said he actually got off with the sugar defense. So maybe Jeffrey did go crazy from all that, knowing that he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail, knowing that he's not getting out this time. Do I feel bad for the guy? No, absolutely not. Because, look, if I had that kind of money, you can afford adult hookers. You don't need
Yeah.
to go after little girls.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Just like I don't feel bad for Cosby. I mean, I loved what he did as a stand-up,
right?
but no. I mean, you do this.
Well, when I first asked you about it, you talked about you going up there and he asked the same questions about stand up
Every time,
every time.
over and over again.
So how was that going to tie into what you were saying
About
when I asked you if you thought he was murdered?
oh well, no, I say because I was saying with the fast food. Maybe he eating all the candy bars and drinking all the soda. Maybe it was like the tweaking defense that he just hung himself after realizing living on that diet, living in a little rat-infested cell is what they. I don't know.
But what does that have to do with you coming over and telling him about how to do stand-up comedy?
Because he used to ask me to come over all the time.
Oh, and you were going to say, and he'd be eating junk food?
He'd always be eating junk food.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was one theory that maybe he just killed himself. But Jeffrey didn't seem to. I didn't know him that well. He didn't seem like the kind of guy that would kill himself. He seemed like he was always very well dressed and.
It was a weird thing. The camera wasn't working.
Yeah, everything.
That was really weird. And people would screams. I do think the bottom line is if I had to, it sounds like he was murdered.
Yeah.
There were too many things.
Is the Zagat guy still around?
Yeah.
You know him?
I just met him. I met him. We had there was a giant dinner, that Jeffrey never went out. And he would just like to stay home, or he'd stay on his island, or he just didn't like to go out to dinner. And his assistant was shocked that I got him to come down to Greenwich Village and go to Arturo's Pizza House. And of course, he came with two statuesque, beautiful adult women.
Okay.
In an SUV. He goes, I can't believe Jeffrey's going out for pizza. He had like a slice or two.
What happened to all those names that were released?
What's that?
What happened to all the names that were released?
Everybody that they talked about, and because my name was in that it wasn't in the famous list, but when his Black Book came out, my number was in there, but Mick Jagger's number was in there, and Michael Jackson's number was in there, and Bill Clinton's number was in there. I mean, there's a million people. So I had a couple of newspapers call me up when that happened. They were calling everybody. And I remember my girlfriend and my manager, you shouldn't talk to them. I go, well, if I don't talk to them, it seems like I'm complicit to this, that I know something.
Yeah.
I go, I don't know. I didn't know anything. And every one of those people knew nothing. They knew that Jeffrey was a weird guy. And as I read about it towards the end, I heard he liked young women, but I didn't think they were 14-year-old girls.
Right.
I figured they were 18, 19-year-old girls. That's a young, I'm 79, 69, same thing. So to me, at the time, I was 60, 65, to me, those were young girls.
Have you stayed close with Woody since?
No, I never been close to Woody. I just saw him. Then he put me in a couple other things. He did. This was a great one. He put me in the movie Wonder Wheel with Jim Belushi.
Sure, I like that movie.
Well, yeah, he put me in one little scene. They didn't fly me in or put me up. Jeffrey put me up. Woody basically played scale to everybody. He didn't pay. People weren't in his movies, to make any money.
Yeah,
he paid scale. And they would say to me, well, are you going to be in New York? Woody's not going to put you up. They'll just pay you. And I go, well, great, any excuse to go to New York. But I get a call a couple of summers ago, and my manager said, I go, who's looking for me? Woody Allen? I said, they go, yeah, he's looking for you again. He did that movie in Spain that came out last year. Again, didn't get great reviews. Woody wants to know if you want to go to Spain next month and do his newest movie. I go, well, yeah. I'll cancel Flappers if I'm booked. I'm not sure. But, I said, yeah, I'd love to go to Spain. So they sent me the script, and it's literally one line. And I called up the casting person. I said, what about the rest of the script? They go, that's it.
Yeah.
I said, wait, he's flying me to Spain to do one line. And they flew me first class. Since it wasn't American money, it was Spanish money, they said, look, we can only put you up for a couple of days. I go, well, I'd like to spend a few more days. Well, we'll get you this beautiful hotel. It was like a Ritz-Carlton for a few $100 a night. And so I stayed there for like 5-6 days. I literally had to do one line. I actually framed the page because my name is, Woody is all watermarked, so you couldn't, you couldn't pass your. A lot of people do that. You can't pass your script on to anybody else. They know where it came from. So this is Bobby Slayton, and the one line, I guess, I'm attending a film festival, and the line I've looked at it a million times. I'm trying to remember what it was. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm going to see the Three Stooges, was just re-released in the new DVD version. I forgot what the word was. The new version of the Three Stooges film is coming out. It's a new DVD with deleted scenes or something. I don't know. And there was just one line. And then Woody would come up to me after, so what do you think? Did you like it? I go, it's your movie. If you liked it, I liked it. He goes, that's good. That's fine. That's great. Well,
I got offered one line in a Woody Allen film, and I regret I didn't take it. But I would have had to. He wasn't offering to fly me out. I would have had to fly myself out to London. He offered me to do a line in Match Point.
It was a good movie. That was one of his better ones.
That was a good one. No, he's done one good. Why? How do you find you?
Because I've been a little bit, not like you, but I've been a little friendly with him since I was 19. And I went down to interview him at the Carlisle, and he said, I waited after the show. I said, I have a comedy magazine. I'd love to interview. He said, I wouldn't enjoy that. I said, okay, I don't want to make him do something he won't enjoy. He's Woody Allen. He's like a hero. So then, John Dominion?
Yeah, I know. No, I know they were good friends who Woody wound up suing.
No, that's Jean.
Jean, the wife.
John Dominion, he's...
were they married?
They were married. They're divorced. But
right, and she did Saturday Night Live, and it's Hell Days, right?
Yes.
Right, okay.
So John Dominion is her ex-husband who was managing sort of Woody's jazz band, and they're good friends. He was in Annie Hall in that scene with the cocaine, with the sneezing and the mustache.
With Paul Simon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So John Dominion says, hey, listen, you're a big fan of Woody. I said, yeah. He said, I'm sorry that he doesn't like to do these interviews, but if you want to come and see your Uncle Woody do jazz sometime, you can come here as his guest. I said, oh, I'd love to. He says, well, when do you want to come? I said, how about next week? He said, see you there.
Wow.
So I come down to the Carlisle the next week, and I sat with John, and after a few minutes, he goes, I can't listen to this stuff anymore. He goes, I've heard him do this a million times. I don't even like jazz. You want to go in the other room? So I said, sure. So I go in the other room with John and this guy, Dr. Ron Brady, who's like a longtime friend of Woody's, I guess since childhood. And John says, let me buy you a drink. So he gets us some whiskeys, and we sit there, and he gets some nuts and stuff at the table. We're joking around. He goes, I like you. He says, you fit in good here. Come around next week if you're around.
Really?
I said, okay. So I used to go put my name on the list to do late night at the comic strip because I was only passed for late night. And then walk over from the comic strip to the Carlisle Monday night, hang out with John Dominion, and sometimes Woody would come over for a little bit to the table, and I get to talk to him a little bit, and then I'd go back and do my set at the comic strip, and I did it for years, and then just over time, so I was working for Jackie Mason selling his merch on Broadway, and Woody's a huge fan of Jackie Mason.
He is?
Huge fan of Jackie. So he would always, so he knew I was working for Jackie. So he'd always say, tell Jackie, I think he's a genius. I think he's one of the great comedians of all time. And, anytime he wants to come down here with you, he's always welcome. And I go to Jackie and I'd say, Woody thinks the world of, oh yeah, how come he never put me in one of his pictures? I said, I don't know, but he invited you to come down. He says, tell him he's a pedophile and a pervert. Deliver that message. I said, okay, thanks a lot. So he said, Woody said, did you tell Jackie? I said, he said he loves you too. He can't come down.
Jackie Mason was kind of a prick. I don't want to sit and talk about all these pricks, but, I ran into once on the street of New York. And I was walking down the street, ran into him, and I said, I don't know if you remember me, Bobby Slayton, you saw me one night at Catch a Rising Star. I don't think he did. He called me into his limo, told me how great he was. It was years before. He didn't remember, which, okay, not that memorable. It's fine. But I said, having dinner with David Brenner tonight. Should I tell him you said hello? And, why should I say hello? I never met David Brenner. Why would you say hello for me? Why? I don't know him. I'm not saying I don't like him, but I don't know. Why do you? But I thought he was like kidding, but I don't think he was kidding.
But he was kidding. That's what he. This is like I was telling. I told a story. We just did Mike Binder's podcast together, and I told this story, and it bombed about how I wanted to be at one point. I wanted to be Don Rickles, and I tried it, and everybody hated me. But Jackie told me that too one time. He goes, I like the fact he insult people. He says, I like the fact that you left. People don't get, for some reason, when Don Rickles does it, everybody thinks he's a genius. And when I do it, half the people walk away and say, Jackie Mason's a jerk and this and that. He goes, I'm making jokes the same way he's making jokes. I like to insult people because it's funny. He goes, and people don't take it from me. From me, they think, oh, he's a horrible person. From Don Rickles, they're kissing his hand and kneeling down in front of him. He says, I was doing it before Don was doing it. So anyway.
One night, these three guys went back to see Jackie after his Broadway show.
Yeah.
I don't give any names. And one of the guys was in the newspaper for cheating on his wife. This is very big news. So they go back to see Jackie, tell him how good he was, and Jackie, in front of everybody, goes, "Who the hell are you to cheat on your wife? I know what your wife looks like. She's a beautiful woman, and you're going and stooping somebody else. Who the hell do you think?" And his face turned like so friggin' red.
Jackie was kidding around, right?
No, he was just.
He liked to make people uncomfortable. But if he would have laughed, then Jackie would have laughed. And Jackie, he would go after people. And if you laughed, then you get it, and then he warms up to you. That was it.
Right.
That's like I told my friend Matty Goldberg when he came on the show. And I brought him to meet Jackie, and Jackie roasted him a little bit. He got offended and started screaming back, and then he left. But it's just the thing. Jackie wanted to be accepted as an insult comic.
Yeah.
And
what were you showing me?
I'm not looking at my emails. We do this part of the show now, which I told you about. We're going to throw out a couple of topics.
How long is this going to take?
Not long.
All right, let's do it fast. I got to get out of here.
I'm going to wrap up. Can I wrap up the story I started
Yes.
before? I'll wrap it up. So Woody's got a sister. To go back to the story, Woody's got a sister that works with him. You know her?
I met her. Yeah, she was on the set. She was working on in Spain on the
She
movie.
produced the movie, too.
Yeah.
She's been worked with him forever.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's
she
his
wanted
sister,
to
of
go
course.
see Jackie on Broadway. So what he said to me, he says, you work with Jackie. Could you get tickets for my sister? And I think she has a husband and her husband. So I go to Jackie. I said, can I get tickets? They don't want to pay for the tickets. Woody Allen doesn't have enough money to pay to see me on Broadway. I said, come on, help me out. He says, all right, I'll do it for you. So I got tickets for his sister and I think her husband to go and see Jackie on Broadway. So Woody said, he really appreciated that. And would I like a line in Match Point? And I said to John, is he going to fly me to London? He goes, no, I don't think so. I think you're going to have to pay for that. I said, no, I'm not going to do it.
All right, now what are we doing?
Anyway.
Oh, you're in a hurry, right?
Yeah.
Because you have all the gigs coming up. You got to get the hell out of here, right?
Well, I got dinner with my girlfriend, which is more important to me than gigs. The only gig I got is the Nasty Show in July in Montreal.
Where are you going to? Are you going out to dinner with her?
I'm going out to eat dinner with my girlfriend.
Nice.
At a little
okay.
place called El Forno in Santa Monica.
I know it.
I'm meeting her mother.
So,
That's it.
what we do here is we have a couple of topics. We're going to throw it out and we try to find the funny in it.
Okay,
it,
make it
okay?
quick. I'm done with the funny. I mean, we should have done this to open up. Now I want to get out of here. Okay, go.
You're going to go. Okay. So, here, New York Post.
Yeah.
The two words that will automatically turn women off, and it's not what you think they say. It says the bare minimum Australian women expect when dating someone has been revealed, and they aren't asking for that much. So, what do you think the two words are?
Did guys say that turns off women?
Yeah.
I can't say them on this show.
I'm broke. How about that?
I was going to say blow me.
Yeah. And that turns them off?
Well, not my girlfriend. That's why I'm meeting her for dinner.
Okay. I understand.
I don't want to do anything to piss her off.
Right.
I'm broke. Is that it?
I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah, I'm broke is a good one. Or I'm homeless.
I'm homeless.
That's a good
That
one.
could be exotic, though.
You think so?
I don't know.
I'm Jewish.
Oh, yeah, that's a turnoff. That's a big turnoff now, especially these days.
Right.
I'm Jewish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pro-Israel, but that's 3 words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm circumcised.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah, right.
There's
So
a
you
lot-
see, it doesn't have to be the one you said.
The bottom line is there's a lot of things that turn women off. Okay. Oh, I'll tell you the big one. I'm married.
I'm married.
Yeah.
I hear that turns them on
I don't. It depends on the woman.
because they
Again,
can have you.
That's why I'm going to meet my girlfriend.
Have you ever really turned a woman off? Is there something you've ever said to one that really just they didn't want to see you anymore?
Yeah.
I'm diseased.
I can't begin to tell you.
I'm itchy. I'm
Yeah.
itchy.
A lot of things. I've said a lot of things to women to turn them off. I can't even remember what they were. Just pretty much everything I say.
Do you stay in touch with any of the women you used to date?
No.
No, neither do I.
Well, no. No. Is that
That's not.
that one of the questions?
No.
Well, yeah, just answer the question. It's
I'm
not
gay
official.
would be another one, right?
What?
I'm gay.
Not really.
That
a
would
turn
turn
off.
women on, I think.
Do you think so?
The fact that, yeah, that
Especially him.
you're interested in them.
No, you might be right. You might be right.
Santa Monica. You still live in Santa Monica?
No, Marina Del Rey.
Okay. Santa Monica's homeless count.
So wait a minute. What was the 2 words for the women?
I have no idea.
Oh.
Read that. Can you read?
Wait. Count down by 6%.
I will
No,
look
no,
it up.
read it loud.
Wait, 52 people.
You read the whole little thing there.
Santa Monica's homeless count down by 6% from 2023, which equates to 52 people.
52 people in 2023. That's how many people are not homeless anymore in Santa Monica,
Okay.
right?
Right.
What
So what's the funny in that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we thought maybe that they just went 3 blocks and now they're in L.A.
Yeah.
Oh, but I don't think that's real. I don't think that's a real
Really?
statistic. I don't.
2024 Greater Los Angeles homeless count results were announced on Friday. This is from the Santa Monica newspaper, Santa Monica Daily News, which is
They're all over. They're all over Venice Beach. So maybe they're in Venice. You know, they're all over the place.
So we were wondering if in L.A. they got 52 new ones. If they go, I wonder where these people came from.
I don't know, but you know what they should do? They should do it like when they round up these, animals. They don't euthanize them, but they drop them off in the mountains in the hills. You know, when they find like a bear in the backyard.
Yeah, they just drive them up to the top of the mountain.
These guys just drive them up and let them all mate.
Don't you remember Superman did that in an episode?
Oh,
You
yeah.
remember? The only person he ever killed in all of
I
Superman.
realize that. What did the guy fell off the cliff?
Yeah, he flew him up to the top of a mountain in Alaska. So.
Echo Mountain.
Yeah.
No comment till the time limit is up. Of course, I remember that.
Yeah, that was a great episode. That's the only person ever got killed in Superman.
I know. No comment. Well, every time I see Jerry, I haven't seen Seinfeld in a long time, but I always remind him, I always call him the boss, because my favorite joke is from the old days, because I know how much he loves Superman,
Yeah.
especially the George Reeves,
Sure.
the TV show. Because I watched it every day after school, smoked a joint, got a slice of pizza, and watched the reruns.
At 6 years old, you smoked a joint?
Well, no, the reruns were on when I was in high school. I watched them as a kid, but then when I was in high school,
I see.
watched them every day at 4:30 on WPIX Channel 11.
Me too.
But I love
Captain Officer Joe Bolton.
After Joe Bolton, yes. Okay, we don't need to
Swung
reminisce
his,
about all that.
little
Okay,
stick.
I got to get out of here. So, but
You're going to leave soon.
but the thing was, it was Louie and the boss. Hey, boss. What was he the boss of? He was the boss of Louie. Remember Seinfeld did that joke?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had 3 people in the...
I know nobody got it, but And he did Sally's hair on David and Goliath. Her hair looked like Yodels, And nobody
do.
got those jokes. They were my 2 favorite jokes.
They're great jokes.
I found the 2 words.
Yeah.
It's hang out. If you ask a woman if she
They
wants to
hate hanging out.
Hang
They go...
out.
They like when you actually ask them for a date.
Right. Yeah.
I really have to get out of here. Let's go. One more. What else? How many more you got?
Not many, like 1 or 2 more. That's
Okay.
it. And then
Let's
you're out
make
of
it
here.
one.
You're a free man. Here's one.
If they didn't tell that dice story, we'd have plenty of time to do like a
That was a
an
long.
hour's worth of questions.
That was a long story.
If
to
you
tell.
didn't tell that story, we'd have time to talk about everything in the New
It's
York Times
unbelievable.
for the last month.
Meanwhile, you got 4 hours for dinner. Bolivian general. Here's one. A Bolivian general in Bolivia is accused of failed coup, and is transferred to the maximum security prison in Bolivia. So this guy who sentenced all these people to this prison is now being
has to go to
sent.
prison.
Yeah.
I think that candy machine's not going to get emptied out too many times. I'll tell you
If
that
he
much.
brings some of that Bolivian blow with him, I think he can make himself a lot of friends.
If you're going to do a coup, you got to go full coup. You can't half coup it. You go half.
What's the next question? All right, I'm cutting him off before he goes back into a
You're
whole story
so
about
tired.
the Bolivian general.
You're so tired.
Starts doing impressions of the general. It's gonna go forever.
Okay, so this is the last one, I think.
Good, please,
Okay,
because
goodbye.
things start
You're
off so good. It's just going in the toilet.
Goodbye.
Oh, my
It's
God.
not.
It's going good.
So
Just like his last podcast.
Yeah, right.
You're so nasty. The baby
Practicing.
that
I'm
hurts.
getting-
It hurts.
getting
He's got to get better, ready for
You know,
stage.
you can't really hurt me. I mean, I don't think there's much I could say to you to hurt you,
No,
right?
no,
Is it because of all the years of doing stand up?
probably.
And when you came into it, you were
There's a lot of things you can say. People do it all the time. You're really a nice guy.
that
People
could
say
hurt.
to me, it really
That would
upsets
hurt
me.
you, yeah.
Yeah.
After Hebrew school, he's immune to everything.
So the baby bust. Britain failing birth rate is creating an alarm in the economy. They are worried that they're just not going to have enough babies.
Why don't we
coming up.
send them a bunch of Mexicans? They'll have so many babies who won't know what to do with them. Send them 5 Mexicans. They're like rabbits. The whole
whole
be
thing. Britain,
unbelievable.
there'll be 10,000
It's
in
amazing.
an hour.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
That's good. That's a nice ending.
Problem solved.
Okay. All right.
That's it.
Do you,
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
like this at the end, these
No,
questions?
I didn't like the whole thing. Let's get out. I gotta go.
I didn't like the whole thing.
I don't blame you. So you will be on my next podcast because this one's about going down the
This one's
trap the
done.
way you're acting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, July 19th in Montreal at Le Pen 9, which is French for the 9th floor. It's actually kind of cool. An old department store, Eaton's, they had a room up on top that was sort of like the Rainbow Room in New York, and it was been closed for 30 years. It's an Art Deco masterpiece. They just reopened it. It was a restaurant. They're turning it into some kind of club.
Where's
For
this in
this,
San
he's got all the
Francisco?
time in the world
Where's
to tell
this?
about this.
Montreal.
Okay.
I'm doing the Nasty Show. Bobby Slayton, nastier than ever.
All right.
So we'll see. All right, can I get out of here now?
Yes.
Yes.
What do you got?
All right, let's wrap it up. I got comic books at fairenoughcomic.com. I got albums at standuprecords.com. What do you got?
MarkSchiff.com and my book, Why Not? Lessons on Comedy, Courage, and Chutzpah. And his book.
I
Pick
don't
It Up.
have anything. I'm
Comedians.
He's got nothing. He's
Jewish
bitter.
comedians.
He's
I
angry.
I know, but it's a beautiful book.
He's
It's
got
a beautiful
one
book.
show. It's already sold out. There's nothing to see here, folks.
Well, Flappers is not sold out, but you're not going to have this on by the time of Flappers. And I think there's 30 or 40 tickets left. Now, I think it might be sold out, but now they want to add another show, which I don't know if I want to do. I hate stand-up comedy.
Let me
This is
tell
a
you
good-
something. One of the great comedians of all time who hates stand-up comedy.
I hate stand-up comedy almost as much as I hate children. There's nothing I hate more than kids.
And you got a daughter.
Thankfully enough, show me pictures of your grandkids because
I didn't show you.
thank you.
And I'm
because I
not
don't
going
wanna see
to
it.
because you're
I'll text you.
you're a
mine.
hateful human being.
Oh, I just yeah. You're gonna tell me you go to a hotel and you're sitting there trying to read a book and some little kids are playing Marco Polo. You don't want them to drown. You're gonna tell me you go to a movie theater. The worst for black people in movie theaters. And black children, don't get me started because that's a whole nother thing.
It's a
And
whole
what
nother
about
thing.
what about airplanes? What about restaurants? Tell me how great children are. And everybody wants to show me pictures of their grandchildren. I don't want to see pictures of your children. I certainly don't want to see pictures of your children's children.
How about my great grandchildren? Would you look at that just because?
That'll be for your next podcast. Yeah.
Bobby
Slayton,
Slayton, ladies and
Okay,
gentlemen.
goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
We
night,
think
ladies
it's
and
gentlemen.
funny.
Second
We
one.
hope you did as well. Please subscribe to the
Let's get
podcast.
this
Leave us
guy
a
outta
nice
here.
review. And
on
you
one
can
second.
find us
We're gonna take a picture. Hang on.
find us all over the place.
really
TikTok,
gotta get
Instagram, YouTube,
go.
wherever you find
I really gotta
podcasts.
go big time.
We'll see you next time with
One
another
minute and
episode.
you're out of
Thank
here.
you.